Pro Football Focus ranked the most improved defensive lines in the NFL. Patriots were number 1. The Cleveland Browns were number 2. How much better do you think this Browns front is with what Andrew Berry has done in this offseason?
It's 1,000 times better than it was last year, and that's nothing against Olivier Vernon, but I hope he heals from his Achilles injury. That's never good. But when Myles Garrett went out, you really saw the lack of depth on this team, and you really saw just how much of the pressure is on Myles Garrett. So now, you add Jadeveon Clowney and you bring in Takk McKinley and Malik Jackson. If he could stay healthy, we have a very good defensive line. I think the reason why they're ranked second is because there are a lot of question marks. There is, if Takk McKinley can get his head in the game, Jadeveon Clowney is going to show up and do what he needs to do. The only constant and consistent player that we have on our defensive line right now is Myles Garrett. We know how good Myles Garrett is. We aren't sure about Malik Jackson, Takk McKinley, and Jadeveon Clowney. If it all comes together, we by far have the best defensive line in the league. If it doesn't, oddly enough, I think we might still have a top 10 line. It's just whether or not it all comes together.
It's really interesting. When we talked about the defense a year ago, we knew it was going to struggle. But we kept saying this line is the strength. In order for them to be really good, the line has to dominate. And we've just talked about how much they've upgraded the line. That'll give you an idea of how much they've upgraded this defense.
Yeah, Andrew Berry, he's done an incredible job. And a lot of people were nervous because he came from the quote-unquote Sashi tree where, analytics and we're cutting, pay here and we're going to cut this older guy here. And I know some people were freaking out when Sheldon Richardson got cut. And you heard it a little bit, especially on social media. They started chirping in. But it was, oh, my God, here we go again. We're cutting good players just so we could try to save money. And then they make the moves that they did with Jadeveon Clowney. Andrew Berry doesn't make he's always one or two steps ahead. So he doesn't make a move without fully thinking it through. And where we thought that John Dorsey was kind of that guy, and don't get me wrong, John Dorsey deserves a lot of credit. But John Dorsey's ego got in the way a little bit, as where with Andrew Berry, I see Andrew Berry more as the guy who's like, hey, you know what? I don't care who gets credit. I just want to do a good job. And it's kind of contagious to the team, especially when you look at Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, for instance. You listen to them talk about each other, it seems like they're best of friends. They don't care who gets the carries or who gets the touchdowns as long as they're winning. And I think that comes from the relationship between Andrew Berry and Stefanski. And you can kind of see it all coming together. Now, what we need to have is on our defense, that same attitude. I don't see Myles Garrett, getting in the way of anybody having success. And I don't see Jadeveon Clowney doing that. I think if we all can kind of get that attitude of Andrew Berry, where I don't care who does it, as long as we have success and we're good at doing it, we'll be fine.